The Golden State Warriors are going through one of those moments that define the history of a franchise. On the surface, they are still the same empire that revolutionized modern basketball and inspired an entire generation. Inside, however, something quiet has begun to move, a subtle, almost invisible but decisive transition. After years of dominating the NBA with their unmatched formula of talent, intelligence, and audacity, the San Francisco team finds itself facing an inevitable choice: fight with all its strength to keep winning now or begin preparing the ground for what comes next. The veterans who sustained the dynasty are still there. They carry the experience of those who have won everything, but also the weight of time, injuries, and the exhaustion of so many battles. Inside the locker room, that awareness is clear. Each season could be the last dance of the cycle that changed the game. Even so, there are sparks of hope, flashes of brilliance that remind the world why Golden State is synonymous with excellence. But the front office knows the clock doesn't stop, and staying relevant means seeing beyond accumulated glory. In the franchise offices, the atmosphere is one of constant observation and meticulous calculation. The win now philosophy still guides the environment, but eyes are already fixed on the horizon. The question that hangs among the executives is simple yet complex: how to maintain a high competitive level while building for the future. It's a delicate, almost impossible balance. The team must continue to fight for titles, but also avoid the collapse that so many other dynasties have faced at the end of their cycle. Among the possibilities discussed behind the scenes, one unlikely idea has started to circulate. A name that, until recently, would have seemed unthinkable within the tactical and cultural structure of Golden State: Ja Morant. The explosive Memphis Grizzlies guard, a symbol of energy and unpredictability, has become a topic of discussion and speculation among fans and analysts. The rumor started small, as casual chatter, but grew into a legitimate debate. Morant is young, talented, and when healthy, he can change the course of any game. For a team looking to renew its offensive DNA without losing identity, he represents both the present and the future. The context in Memphis fuels this speculation. Morant is living through a period of discomfort and uncertainty. After some internal friction and a series of disappointing results, his behavior has drawn attention. In interviews, he sounds distant, sometimes impatient, as if the spark that once made him unique is beginning to fade. Even when his stats impress, the light in his eyes seems dimmer, a quiet restlessness, the kind that often precedes big changes. That's where Golden State enters the equation. The franchise has built a reputation for rehabilitating talent, turning so-called problematic players into key pieces within a system that values teamwork and intelligence. The idea of placing Morant under the mentorship of experienced leaders and within a fluid offensive structure is fascinating. He would have room to grow, to learn, and at the same time, bring back the energy that sometimes seems missing from the team. But management knows the risk is high. Betting on a talent like Morant involves more than numbers. It's about personality, behavior, and public image. The investment would be sporting, but also emotional and reputational. Still, the potential is irresistible. A player with his explosiveness, charisma, and electrifying style would attract new generations of fans and reignite the sense of spectacle in San Francisco. Moreover, his technical fit is evident. Speed in transition, aggressiveness in drives, and court vision perfectly aligned with the Warriors' dynamic system. Meanwhile, internal analyses continue. Executives observe every market detail carefully, knowing that any rushed decision could jeopardize the franchise's financial and tactical balance. The NBA salary cap leaves no room for mistakes, and a move of this magnitude would require giving up valuable pieces. Young prospects, draft picks, and even veterans with heavy contracts could be involved in a potential deal. Still, Morant's name continues to echo behind the scenes as an idea too bold to ignore. The dilemma is clear: take risks to renew or preserve to maintain stability? Golden State lives right on that tension point. The dynasty that enchanted the world now stands at a crossroads, and each path brings its own rewards and dangers. The search for balance between past and future is the true challenge of the season. But while public attention focuses on the Morant rumor, another name has begun to gain strength behind the scenes. A completely different player in style, but equally capable of redefining the franchise's course, Bam Adebayo. The Miami Heat center, known for his physical strength, defensive versatility, and impeccable work ethic, has emerged as a strategic target for the Warriors' future. The reasoning is clear. For years, the team has operated without a dominant big man, relying on versatility and movement, but the league has evolved. Today's champions balance perimeter and paint with surgical precision, and Adebayo seems to be the missing piece of that puzzle. Within the front office, the center's name is treated with respect and pragmatism. He represents not only immediate impact but also continuity. He is young enough to sustain the next cycle, yet experienced enough to help the veterans maintain current standards. His presence in the paint would give the team something it has long lacked: defensive consistency and creative support in attack. In a system that values quick passing and off-ball movement, Adebayo would be a natural catalyst. The numbers back his potential. He maintains solid averages in points, rebounds, and assists, and he has developed as both a finisher and a creator. In Golden State's scheme, which rewards tactical intelligence and reading of the game, he could become one of the league's most complete centers. The fit is almost perfect. But, as with any major deal, the price is steep. Miami wouldn't part with its cornerstone without a substantial offer. That's where Jonathan Kuminga's name enters the conversation. The young forward is viewed as one of the brightest prospects on the roster and one of the few assets with high market value. His departure would be an emotional blow for fans, but a trade involving Adebayo would demand sacrifice. The executives know this and treat the idea with cold strategy. To build the future, sometimes one must give up fragments of the present. Behind closed doors, debates are intense. Some argue that Adebayo is exactly the type of player who can rejuvenate the system without distorting the team's DNA. Others believe that losing Kuminga would be a long-term mistake, depriving the team of a potential leader for the next generation. Yet the consensus is the same. Golden State must act before the current cycle expires completely. The team still competes at a high level, but time is unforgiving. Each season, the pace, intensity, and endurance become greater challenges. What once seemed effortless, reaching the finals, dominating opponents, setting the rhythm, now demands an almost superhuman effort. And despite all the remaining talent, there is a tacit understanding. Rebuilding is inevitable. The only question is when and how it will begin. In training sessions, this transition can already be felt. The veterans, aware of their legacy, have taken on mentoring roles. The atmosphere is one of constant learning. Conversations in the locker room, extra workouts, and video reviews reveal a team trying to balance the present with the future. There is a quiet respect for the history they've built, but also a desire to keep the fire alive through new protagonists. As fans oscillate between nostalgia and anticipation, management works in silence, assembling scenarios, simulating trades, analyzing outcomes. There's no haste, only patience and vision. The plan is clear. The transition must happen without the franchise losing its essence. It's an almost impossible task, but if there's one team capable of turning it into reality, that team is the Golden State Warriors. In the corridors of the Chase Center, the atmosphere is a blend of serenity and urgency. The days go by with the routine of practices, tactical analysis, and film study, but there is a different kind of energy in the air, an almost silent sense of anticipation that hangs over everyone. It feels as though every step, every decision, and every conversation carries the weight of a new chapter in the franchise's history. The Golden State Warriors stand precisely at the point between the end of one era and the birth of another. No executive dares to call it a rebuild. The word seems taboo. Inside the organization, they prefer to call it an evolution. That choice of language is not accidental. Golden State refuses to accept the idea of starting from scratch. Its culture is built on continuity, on the belief that excellence does not end, it merely changes form. For that reason, every plan is based on the legacy that the current generation will leave behind. Players, coaches, and executives all understand that the greatest inheritance is not the trophies, but the standard of excellence that has been set. The franchise's long-term plan is meticulous. It combines gradual renewal with a keen eye on the market. While the current roster strives to squeeze the most out of every season, management is constantly studying ways to introduce new pieces that will keep the team relevant. In this context, the possible arrival of Bam Adebayo would not just be a technical move, it would be symbolic. He would represent the consolidation of a new backbone capable of carrying the weight of the jersey and the style of play that redefined modern basketball. The team's analysts have been running several tactical simulations involving Adebayo. In the Warriors system, he could act as a bridge between defense and offense, something few big men in the league can do with such natural ease. His ability to handle the ball, pass on the move, and defend multiple positions would make him an extension of Draymond Green's mind, and, in time, he would become the natural successor to that role, allowing the team to maintain its collective identity even as the roster evolves. For Stephen Curry, this transition is also emotional. The point guard, who carries the weight of an entire generation, knows that his career is approaching its twilight. He continues to play at an extraordinary level, but his body no longer responds the way it once did. Still, Curry has never shown fear of time. He sees the arrival of new talent as a way to perpetuate what he built. The same spirit that once drove him to reinvent the game now pushes him to inspire those who will come after him. Draymond Green, meanwhile, remains the competitive soul that still sets the tone in the locker room. He clearly understands the importance of this new phase and knows that his role now goes far beyond the stat sheet. Today, he is a mentor, a guide, and a mirror for the young players trying to understand what it means to be a warrior. When he speaks, the locker room falls silent, and it is precisely this internal structure, this sense of hierarchy and purpose, that makes the franchise the perfect environment for someone like Ja Morant, should the rumor ever materialize. The presence of such an unpredictable talent could have an immediate impact, but it would also demand emotional maturity from the group. Morant is a player who carries within him the flame of creative rebellion, and it is that energy that can reignite the spectacle, if channeled in the right environment. Under the leadership of Curry and Draymond, and within the disciplined ecosystem built by Steve Kerr, he would have the chance to mature without losing his essence. Behind the scenes, the debate over Morant is intense. Some see him as the perfect face of the Warriors' next generation, a player who combines charisma, youth, and global appeal. Others, however, fear that his history of controversies could disrupt the team's stability. The dilemma is real, and management prefers not to rush. Everything will depend on two factors: cost and timing. If the equation proves favorable, the team will not hesitate. Meanwhile, internal development remains a top priority. The grow-from-within philosophy is more alive than ever. Young players are observed daily, and each undergoes technical and mental evaluations to determine whether they fit the Warriors' culture. The franchise seeks not only talent, but compatibility with its identity. It is not about finding the next Curry or the next Thompson. It is about shaping athletes who embody the same winning mentality. At practice, the atmosphere resembles that of a school. The veterans teach what the years have taught them: how to handle pressure, how to react to defeat, and how to celebrate victory with humility. These small gestures form part of an invisible but essential education. It is this transmission of values that keeps the essence of Golden State alive. Because there, more than statistics, what is cultivated is a way of thinking about the game. A philosophy that places the collective above the individual. This emotional and cultural foundation makes it possible to dream of smooth transitions without traumatic breaks. The franchise wants to avoid the fate of past powerhouses that crumbled once their golden cycles ended. The goal is to ensure that when the baton is passed, the team remains competitive, vibrant, and feared. In this sense, Adebayo's name is almost a symbol of stability. He is not just an efficient player. He represents discipline, consistency, and quiet leadership. He is the type of athlete who does not seek the spotlight but becomes indispensable within any winning structure. In a roster that values tactical intelligence and commitment, he would be the perfect piece to link past and future. At the same time, the possible interest in Morant reveals the other side of the plan, the desire to take risks, to reinvent. While Adebayo symbolizes security, Morant embodies the spark of unpredictability. And perhaps it is precisely this balance between stability and boldness that Golden State needs to begin its new era. The front office knows that the upcoming trade windows will be crucial. The market is constantly shifting, and opportunities arise when least expected. The Warriors, long accustomed to acting with discretion and precision, do not intend to move before the right time. But when they do, it will be to make an impact. They understand that every move will shape not only their immediate future, but also the organization's legacy. Rivals watch closely. No franchise in the league ignores what happens in San Francisco. When the Warriors breathe, the market stirs. Every rumor, every meeting, every executive visit to another city is interpreted as a signal. And this constant scrutiny shows the magnitude of Golden State's influence. Even in a moment of transition, the franchise continues to dictate narratives, inspire models, and instill fear. It is the symbolic power of a dynasty that refuses to die. There is no sense of ending, only transformation. Within the coaching staff, the message is the same. Everything that has been built must serve as the foundation for what comes next. The tactical system will not be torn down, only refined. The style of play that enchanted the world, the quick passes, constant movement, and deadly shooting, will endure, adapted to the new traits of the roster. Golden State has never believed in copying the past. Its strength lies in anticipating the future. And that is precisely what management seeks now, the next version of excellence. A version that is younger, more versatile, and more balanced between talent and responsibility. Every decision made today carries the weight of a decade of glory, but also the hope that, when history is told in the future, there will not just be a chapter called The Warriors Dynasty, but an ongoing narrative, a legacy in constant evolution. In the coming months, the eyes of the NBA will be fixed on San Francisco. The franchise's moves could redefine the league's landscape. If the team manages to combine Morant's talent with Adebayo's consistency, the result could create something unprecedented, a new golden era built upon the glowing ashes of the last. Once again, the destiny of Golden State is about to be decided behind closed doors, in discreet meetings, secret calls, and conversations that could change the course of history. And, as always, the world will be watching, waiting for the moment when silence gives way to the next explosion of brilliance. The echo of this transformation is still subtle but perceptible. Within the organization, every employee, from scouts to executives, knows that the Golden State Warriors are at a turning point. What is at stake goes far beyond wins and losses. It is the redefinition of an identity, the redesign of a sporting culture that has inspired the world. The Warriors do not just want to survive the passage of time. They want to prove that greatness can reinvent itself. This mindset begins with how the team faces the future. Unlike other franchises that dive into radical rebuilds, Golden State bets on a continuous transition, in which each new piece is added with patience and purpose. There is no rush to break what still works. The focus is on ensuring that when the current icons leave the court, the team will continue to play with the same heart and intelligence. In this process, the behind-the-scenes work is meticulous. The talent development department closely monitors the growth of young players, creating personalized programs for each of them. Kuminga, for example, has received special attention. The coaching staff sees in him a rare physical and technical potential, but understands that the leap to maturity requires more than minutes on the floor. It requires tactical awareness, emotional balance, and patience to learn. The presence of experienced veterans like Curry and Green serves as a compass. They are the living embodiment of the Warriors' philosophy: win with purpose, evolve with humility. At the same time, the franchise's analytics department works on financial and roster projections for the next 5 seasons. The challenge is immense. The salary cap limits aggressive moves, and any attempt to bring in stars such as Adebayo or Morant requires creativity. Management is already studying multiple trade scenarios, exception clauses, and contract redistribution. Every number, every detail is analyzed with almost surgical precision. The intention is clear, not to compromise the sustainability of the project for a short-term gamble. Executives know that the success of Golden State has always been built on balance between talent and discipline, spectacle and structure. Therefore, even under pressure to act, they prefer the strategy of patience. It is not a lack of ambition, but the awareness that haste in basketball is often the enemy of continuity. Meanwhile, the locker room remains solid. There is a sense of collective mission, a kind of silent pact between generations. The young players learn from the veterans, and the veterans feed off the energy of the young. It is a rare symbiosis that explains why the atmosphere at Chase Center remains healthy even amid uncertainty. Everyone understands that what is being built goes beyond results. It is an emotional legacy, a way of thinking about the game. Steve Kerr, the silent architect of this process, plays a fundamental role. His vision of basketball goes beyond tactical diagrams. He understands the sport as a network of human relationships, where trust and mentality are as valuable as shots and defense. That is why his mission is twofold: to keep the team competitive and to preserve the environment in which the warrior spirit thrived. Kerr knows that soon he will have to lead a team without the idols who made him legendary, and that is precisely why he works now to ensure the system survives any absence. Outside, fans live between two feelings: nostalgia and hope. Nostalgia because they know they are witnessing the final chapters of an unrepeatable generation. Hope because even after so many years, they still believe Golden State can surprise the world once again. This duality creates a rare emotional connection. Every game at Chase Center feels like a ritual, a celebration of something that is about to change but has not yet ended. The most attentive fans notice that something is shifting in the detail, in Curry's gestures as he spends more time talking with the rookies, in Draymond's direct instructions during practices, in the constant presence of executives in the stands, observing young talent from other teams. Everything suggests that the succession plan is underway, even if silently. Behind the scenes, there is a consensus that the next step must unite reason and boldness. If management decides to invest in Adebayo, the choice will represent the path of stability, a rational transition based on consistency and defense. Morant, on the other hand, symbolizes risk and fire, an attempt to reignite the flame of unpredictability that once defined the franchise's peak. Between these two forces, the future of the Warriors will be drawn. But regardless of which path prevails, one thing is certain: Golden State will not return to anonymity. The structure built, the solidified culture, and the global impact achieved are legacies that transcend the NBA stage. The team has become an idea, a symbol that intelligence and creativity can defeat even time itself. Rivals look on with respect and caution. They know Golden State never announces its moves ahead of time. It was like this when they revolutionized the game with three-point shooting. It was like this when they rebuilt the dynasty after injuries. And it will be like this again now, at the dawn of a new cycle. The franchise's silence is, paradoxically, the most feared sound in the league. Internally, the psychological work with the roster is also gaining attention. Kerr's staff understands that emotional fatigue is real. Players who have won so much must find new motivation in new challenges. That is why the club invests in mental health support, group sessions, and emotional self-management programs. The goal is to keep the competitive flame alive, the same instinct that turned Golden State into a global phenomenon. The family mentality is constantly reinforced. Each victory is celebrated as a collective effort, and each loss is treated as a lesson. The locker room, despite its age and personality differences, remains united by a greater purpose. This cohesion is the foundation that sustains any ambitious project, and it is the reason why executives believe that, regardless of who comes or goes, the warrior spirit will remain intact. From a technical standpoint, The transition has already begun to appear on the court. Kerr has been testing hybrid lineups, mixing veterans and young players in search of chemistry that projects the future. In some games, the style looks more vertical, more physical, almost experimental, an indication that the team is already preparing a gradual change of identity. The goal is that, when the baton is finally passed, the system will already be adapted to the roster's new characteristics. The franchise is also studying the modernization of its infrastructure. New data analysis technologies, real-time physical monitoring systems, and partnerships with sports science universities are part of a program focused on longevity and innovation. Golden State wants to be at the forefront not only on the court, but off it as well. Executives see this renewal as a legacy project. It is not about replacing one era with another, but about extending the philosophy that brought success. The bet is that the name Warriors will continue to be synonymous with excellence, intelligent play, and creative courage, regardless of who wears the jersey. In the corridors of Chase Center, this vision is repeated almost like a mantra. The future should not erase the past, but feed on it. Every training session, every draft pick, every contract signed has a common purpose: to perpetuate the spirit that put San Francisco at the center of the basketball world. And if fate decrees that Adebayo dons the blue and gold, or that Morant brings his electric energy to the Bay, it will be just another chapter in a story that seems endless. What truly matters is that Golden State has learned the sport's most valuable lesson. Greatness lies not only in winning, but in remaining dignified when time demands change. In the coming months, the franchise will face one of the most delicate decisions in its history. The balance between emotion and reason will define the organization's next decade. But if there is one thing Golden State has proved time and again, it is that courage and vision always go hand in hand. The team that changed the game has not finished its masterpiece. It is merely preparing the next act. And when this new chapter begins, the world will once again see the brilliance that for a moment seemed to fade, not as an echo of the past, but as the rebirth of a flame that never dies. And so the Golden State Warriors reach one of those moments that define not only a team, but an entire era. Time passes, generations change, but the essence remains. The courage to begin again, the passion to compete, and the unshakable faith in their identity continue to fuel this legendary franchise. What lies ahead may be the beginning of a new dynasty, different, modern, yet equally inspiring. Every step taken now carries the weight of history and the light of the future. What the Warriors are building is not just a team, it is a bridge between what was and what can still be. And when this new era rises, the basketball world will once again stop to watch. If you believe in this transformation, if the warrior spirit runs through your veins too, then this is the moment to support those who live this passion every day. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any chapter of this journey. Because what is coming promises to be epic, and you will want to be here when the next historic leap of the Golden State Warriors happens.